Mr. President, yesterday the Senate voted to adopt an amendment offered by Senators Corker and Hoeven relating to border security. Now, I have some misgivings about the policy contained in that amendment. I've spoken to that on the floor. But I commend these senators at the same time for engaging on this legislation and taking the steps they feel are necessary to gain broader support for the underlying bill. We are now one big step closer to a Senate vote on comprehensive immigration reform legislation. I'd like to take just a few moments to reflect on why this legislation is so important, and to remind the Senate, as we consider the bill, we should remember that at its core, it is about people. It is about families seeking the promise of America. It is about children whose parents want what any parent wants for their child: the opportunity to succeed, to prosper, to live in a free and open and welcoming society. To me, the bill is less about numbers and metrics or border fences and technology than it is about human beings and the natural desire we all have to better ourselves, our families, and to give our children the lives we wish for them. The measures in this legislation will give those affected by it the freedom to get on the path to becoming Americans. Our history of immigration is one that honors our free and open society, which has strengthened it. Immigration has in part been the story of enlarging a society made up of individuals who, no matter their vast differences, all believe in the promise of American democracy and the values given to us in our Constitution. When we welcome those who yearn for these values, we strengthen and renew them. Of course, we're a nation of immigrants. Past immigration has helped shape this country and deepens its economic and cultural vibrancy, touching every state and every community, from the far western state of the presiding officer of Hawaii to the northeastern state of my own in Vermont. After the Revolutionary War and into the early 1880s, for example, Vermont had been the slowest growing state in the Union. Old growth forests had been stripped. Farms had been worn out. But immigrants helped reclaim forsaken farms and to build and operate budding new factories and new centers of industry across the Green Mountain State. The United States has been made stronger by the diverse cultural background that's been woven into our national fabric. This Vermonter is the grandson of immigrants to Vermont from Ireland and Italy, and our heritage is one of which my family and I are fiercely proud. And to appreciate the values inherent in our immigration policy, I need only to look at the experience of my own family and the family of my wife, Marcelle. Marcelle's mother and father, Louis Philippe Pomerleau and Cecile Bouchard Pomerleau, emigrated to the United States from the province of Quebec in Canada. Marcelle is a first-generation American born in Newport, Vermont. And of course, to me, is the greatest contribution her mother and father made to Vermont and America. But Marcelle's mother and father contributed much to Vermont and to America in business and music, and enriched their own community. Members of her family went on to establish successful businesses and become leaders in their communities, and they've given greatly to Vermont. And Marcelle grew up to serve the communities in which she lived as a registered nurse, caring for others in Burlington, Vermont, and Washington, D.C., and Arlington, Virginia. And like many young immigrants in our country, Marcelle grew up in a bilingual household, knowing two different cultures. But this is America for so many, where young people grow up in families where multiple languages are spoken, where traditions from multiple cultures are observed, and this enriches America. My maternal grandparents came to this country from Italy. My grandfather, like many others who came to Vermont from Italy, was a granite carver. He opened a granite business in central Vermont. And the hard work and determination of my maternal grandparents, who did not speak English when they arrived. To settle in this country laid the foundation for my mother and our family. My paternal great-grandparents came from Ireland, and my grandfather was named Patrick Leahy, and I'm named after him. Worked in a stone quarry as well. They worked hard. They had a family. I grew up the son of printers in Montpelier, our state capital. But nearly every American family has a story like mine and Marcelle's. We are more alike than we are different from today's immigrants and first-generation Americans. The majority of new immigrants will continue this proud tradition of hard work, the drive toward prosperity, and embracing the values that make America great. And they will someday tell their children and grandchildren of their own immigrant histories, as Marcelle and I learned from our parents and our grandparents. And the bill we consider will continue the cycle of growth and renewal and will improve on many aspects of our immigration system. The bill before us contains measures that are important to many Vermonters. I added a provision that takes an important step toward restoring privacy rights to millions of people who live near the northern border by injecting some oversight into the decision-making process for operating federal checkpoints and entering private land without a warrant far from the border. The bill contains significant measures to assist dairy farmers and other Vermont growers who have long relied on foreign workers and are going to need them in the future. It contains a youth jobs program proposed by Senator Sanders to help young people gain employment. It contains a measure I propose to make sure that no Canadian citizen traveling to Vermont to see a family member will ever be charged a fee for crossing our shared and long and wonderful border. It contains an improvement to the visas used by nonprofit arts organizations around the country, like the Vermont Symphony Orchestra, invite talented foreign artists to perform in America. It contains measures to improve the lives and future of refugees and asylum seekers who call Vermont home. It contains improvements to the H-2B program to help small businesses. And it contains a measure to ensure that the job-creating EB-5 program be made permanent, so the state of Vermont and other states can continue the great work that is being done in our state, done to improve Vermont communities. This is a bill to help Vermont families and businesses alike. So I discuss this legislation today in the context of my personal history. I do it to take a moment to remind all of us that immigration is about more than border security. It is about more than politics. It is about the lives and hopes and dreams of human beings, It is about those who go on to do great things in America. It is about American communities that benefit from immigration. That has been our history, but it should also be our future. As I said before, the legislation before us will help write the next great chapter in America's history of immigration. So, Mr. President, I see the distinguished ranking member on the floor, and I yield the floor.